had a pretty good sized rainstorm that was the remnants of the hurricane, and the wind came through, the rain came through. I'm on the ladder on the south side of the garage on Wednesday, October 14th, taking a look at the gutter guards. So what's transpired in the last couple of days since I was up here, we had a pretty good sized rainstorm that was the remnants of the hurricane, and the wind came through, the rain came through, and it started to drive a lot of stuff off the trees. And I thought it was too good of a situation to pass up, because this is what people are looking for. They want to know how well the gutter guards deflect the leaves and debris and how well they take in the water. I will show you here what is happening and what has changed here in just the last couple of days. This is MasterShield on the south side of the garage. You can see that it is pretty free and clear still, so this hasn't changed dramatically since the other day when we were up here. I think before we had a few more pine needles and not so much in the way of these little yellow leaves, maybe a few helicopters if I recall. So this system remains working well. You saw a leaf just come off the roof and kind of bounce to the ground below. So it is dry. We got a little bit of a breeze out here, but we have a whole lot more debris. And when I say debris, a lot of pine needles, a lot of these small flowers, or excuse me, a lot of the small leaves off the locust tree, and then just some other random leaves at this point. So when you compare the leaf filter right here in front of me, right here, just in case anybody's wondering, we've got a ton of leaves and debris sitting on top of this system here. And then if I just kind of pan down, I'll walk down and take a look at each of those other ones. But as you can see, there's a whole lot less debris sitting on top of those gutter guards. A ton of debris sitting on top of this gutter guard. And then we come back and look at the MasterShield. Very little debris sitting on top of that system. So the primary reason why this is because this one sits pretty flat inside the gutter. Whatever's coming down off the roof, it's more likely to sit on top of this system. So for premium gutter guard, this one is in the worst shape, as it is on the north side of the garage. Here we're looking at the LeafLock system on the south side of the garage. We've got a clump of pine needles and locust leaves on the left-hand side, and as we come across, you can see more of the same. Overall, plenty of screen to take in the water if and when it rains. One of the things I commented on the other day about this system is the screen is a little bit more porous, so it's more likely that you'll see some of those pine needles actually plug vertically inside the screen. I'm not seeing a whole lot of evidence of that happening right now. Most of the stuff seems like it's sitting relatively flat on here, which is good news. That means that most of that stuff should just blow or wash or slide its way off the top with gravity and a little bit of time. But you can see some of the stuff sitting up at the roof level, so it'll just kind of shift its way across the screen and then eventually work its way off. This is the diamond mesh screen from the folks at Valor. This one had the most leaves and debris on it when I was up here just the other day. It is actually faring better now than the leaf filter system is. So it has gotten maybe a little bit worse, but overall somewhat consistent from what we saw the other day. There's definitely more stuff kind of sitting here in the middle, and then over to the left-hand side where you've got to build up a little bit onto the roof. Portions of this are a little bit clearer than other areas, but overall it hasn't changed dramatically for the worse. This is the Gutterglove Pro. It's doing a pretty effective job. We have a little bit of the yellow locust leaves that are sitting on top of the gutter guard. Obviously you can see some pine needles and some of those locust leaves up on the roof. A little bit of pine needle activity here, and just kind of continues its way down. So as it was the other day, this is pretty well free and clear, available to take in the water. My expectation is that those leaves will just kind of cruise off the top, as it's doing with some of the other systems. So that is the Gutterglove Pro. This is LeafFree, the solid gutter cover on the south side of the garage, October 14th. You can see here a good example of what we talk about when the water flow cap attaches to the debris, or the debris attaches to the water flow. The water is strong enough and the adhesion is strong enough that as it works its way across the face of the gutter, it curls around to get inside, and what it has done is drawn in some leaves and some pine needles. So you can see a larger leaf that has kind of collected with it some pine needles. The leaf is halfway inside that opening. The pine needles are just kind of spread between it, so they're not actually inside the slot. They're just kind of being stuck. They're stuck in the place based on where that leaf has stopped moving. And then you see some of the locust flowers just kind of wedged up against that larger leaf. As we look over here to the left, this has been the area where stuff has gotten stuck inside that opening. And you can see here a little bit darker area. Maybe I'll zoom in a little bit, give us a little better perspective. You can see some of the old locust flowers from back in late May, early June timeline are still kind of wedged in the opening of this, and a lot of that stuff is dried up, and some of it maybe has shifted out of there. So it will be interesting again when we take the cover off to see how much of that debris made its way inside the gutter, and what it does the next time we see a good solid rain. So this is LeafFree on the south side of the garage. If you look at the surface itself, it's free and clear, so there's just a little bit of stuff sitting on top. I fully expect that stuff will blow off without any issue, which is what you would expect with a solid, smooth surface, that there's not a whole lot of friction there for something to stick onto. I'm going to rank these systems in terms of the leaves and debris. Number 1 is at the far end, that's MasterShield. Number 2 is LeafFree. Number 3 is Gutterglove Pro, which is the third one in line. Number 4 today is LeafLock. Number 5 is the diamond screen from Valor. And then the worst performing, number 6, is LeafFilter. Here we're looking at MasterShield on the north side of the garage. You can see some leaves and some pine needles as they're working their way off the roof, hit the gutter guard, and are continuing their way to the ground. See, when you look at this in relationship to some of the other systems up here, you'll see how well this system is performing. Here we are looking at Leaf Solution on the north side of the garage. This one's faring reasonably well. You can see quite a bit of screen below the debris, the pine needles, the leaves. So we're starting to see the big stuff come off the trees. The pine needles are really falling pretty rapidly at this point, and this system, in comparison to LeafFilter, which is right next door, is faring pretty well, but in comparison to MasterShield, which is down at the end, less so. Here we're looking at LeafLock on the north side of the garage. So this is somewhat similar to what we saw in the spring with the buildup of the pine needles and the leaves and debris in the spring. It was more of the flower off the locust tree. It would build up on the gutter guard screen, and then it would work its way up onto the shingles. So we're starting to see some of that action happen here. And this system is pretty well covered up. You can certainly see some of the screen through here, but you can also see a lot of the debris just sitting on top, the leaves and the pine needles sitting on top. So what I noted the other day was how much stuff was actually plugged into the screen. So these pine needles landing vertically instead of horizontally. There's almost too much stuff on here to kind of see how much of that stuff is vertical versus horizontal. But as you can see at the moment, there's quite a bit of stuff up here. So it'll be interesting to see between now and the next time we come up how this changes. Here we're looking at the Gutterglove DIY Easy-on gutter guard and the comparable or similar to the Leaf Blaster low-end do-it-yourself micro mesh system from Gutterglove. This one seems to be faring reasonably well. You can see a fair bit of screen that is open and available to take in the water, and you can see the debris that's just sitting on top. So not quite as bad as the other systems down the way. And even if it rains, you know, the water will naturally drop below the leaves and debris, the pine needles, and go inside the gutter. But you can see to what extent stuff is kind of overhanging the front edge of the gutter here, and this system at this point is doing okay. This is CleanMesh on the north side of the garage. This one is faring pretty well with respect to the leaves and the pine needles. You can see a little bit of action over here on the right hand side of it. You can see a random pine needle kind of poking into the screen and just some smaller leaves. So this one looks a lot more like MasterShield in its current state than say LeafFilter or some of the other systems. So this one's always done a pretty good job in terms of keeping the leaves and debris off the gutter guard surface itself, so would have no problem taking in the water at this stage, and the debris by and large should just keep cruising off the top based on what we're seeing here. So as we kind of look all the way back down from one end to the other, here we've got the Gutterglove product, LeafLock, Leaf Solution, and it's a little hard to see from this vantage point. I'll zoom in. You've got LeafFilter, and then at the far end is the MasterShield gutter guard. So as you can see, like in the spring, most of the other systems now have some sort of debris sitting on top, leaves, pine needles, etc. And compared to the other day, it's quite a difference than what we saw when I was up here. Okay, I'm looking at LeafFilter again, and LeafFilter is the worst on this side of the gutter. You can see all the debris that's hanging off the edge, and then you can see how little of the screen is visible. A little bit here, a little bit here, and everything else is pretty well covered up. So LeafFilter is the worst. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe buttons and ding the bell, and you'll be notified the next time we upload a video. All the gutter guards that had leaves sitting on top of them yesterday, all those leaves had blown off.